rainwater as well as recharge. Then we also install a lot of these rainwater harvesting, recharging rainwater harvesting system from the roof into wells, starting from after the tsunami, when the coastal wells got inundated with saline water. So these were built around the coastal areas in the south as well as east, and with very, which was very effective. Quality of the water as well as the quantity of water, but also improved very quickly, drastically. So as well as we have some industries who are doing rainwater harvesting at different levels, as well as plantation sector has also adopted rainwater harvesting. So basically, there are about 50,000 rainwater harvesting systems in the country. So, okay. So how has rainwater harvesting?
Sorry to interrupt, man. Can I request everybody to please mute?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, yeah. So so how has rainwater harvesting benefited to manage these disasters? So they have provide safe drinking water for more than 50,000 people in drought and flood situations. They have been installed in the northern province, where people were settling after the civil war, where when they went back to their own homes, their water resources were damaged. So we installed rainwater harvest system for these houses, about 750 or more. Then after the tsunami around the coastal area, we installed again water supplies systems were damaged due to tsunami in those areas. So we installed them in these coastal areas after tsunami in the households. Then there have been very good water supply during COVID, this pandemic. As you all know, there were lockdowns. People who had to go far to get water. To fetch water from other sources. They were not able to go because of the lockdown. We found that people who had a rainwater harvest system, 90% of them managed very well with the rainwater harvest system in their homes. Not only did they manage their own water, but they also shared water with their neighbors as well during those times. Then again, recently, last year, end of last year, we had a disaster, Ditwa cyclone, where the water supply systems, about 100 some odd pipe water supply systems broke, and also the community, about 500 community water systems also got damaged. In those instances where there was a rainwater harvesting system, people were okay. Plus, the power supply also got knocked off. So there was no pumping of water. So where they had water supply in schools, where people were getting shelter, there was a ready supply of water at these emergency times. Then it is for benefiting for health and hygiene. We have an issue where if you see the map, there are red and yellow and blue green areas in the country. These are the areas where there is this chronic kidney patients are prevalent. This effect is not known what is causing it, but there are hundreds of thousands of people who are suffering from this issue. So these rainwater system which we introduce are used only for drinking, only for these patients, and they so that about 52% of the people who are affected by this disease drink rainwater as well. So fluorosis is another issue where the high level of fluoride in the drinking well water. So those areas also rainwater harvesting has been a safe drinking water. So I mentioned about water at the doorstep for women and children, especially during COVID and other emergency situations. Then where we have introduced the groundwater recharging, the quality of the water, well water, as well as the quantity has improved. Salinity level in the tsunami areas, high mineralized levels in the northern areas. We have found that the quantity of water within 1 year increased by about 1 meter in depth in these wells where we have introduced rainwater harvest system. So these have been also a source of water for home gardening and agriculture as well, a small scale. And they have also been adopted by plantation sector as well as private sector, especially to meet the SDG goals as well. So yeah, so that's about it, very short. So thank you for listening, and we will take some questions later, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, with a very informative insight about the water available system in Sri Lanka and the rainwater harvesting systems. And I really congratulate you, and you have been doing a phenomenal work in spreading the awareness about this rainwater harvesting. It's really nice. I'm sure the listeners will have more questions to you, and we'll take up the questions in the end, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we have got one more eminent speaker, Mr. Janet Tilipadan Johnny, who is a surface water hydrogeologist and a senior scientist in the hydrology and climatology research group at the Center for Water Research Development and Management in Kozhikode, Kerala. With the 17 years of vast experience in the water resource research, his work focuses on the climate change impact, the water conservation, the forest hydrology, the hydrological and hydrodynamics modeling, the flood risk management and assessment, the water audits and budgeting, the citizen science applications, and the stakeholders conflict analysis. He has contributed to the several major water resource initiatives in Kerala and has been involved in developing the decision support system, such as the reservoir level prediction system for dams in Kerala with the help of the reservoir assessment tool, that is RAT 3.0 under NASA SWOT program. He has published in the leading international journals and several on the expert committee related to the dam safety, river basin management, water resource information system, river restoration, and Indian standards and water resource planning. Welcome to you, sir. May I request you to please address us and give us the insight how rainwater can mitigate flooding and the water shortage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you
Yes,
are.
sir. Very much.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Vijayaraj sir, for the introduction. Today's topic is a discussion on changing climate, changing waters, risks and opportunities for water conservation. The context of the talk is climate change and its impact on water security, integrated water resources management. We will also explore the risks and opportunities in water conservation and resilient water management strategies through past experiences to minimize the impact of climate change. So when we talk about changing climate, the most critical are the extremes, the changes in extremes, especially in hot extremes and extreme precipitation. As per IPCC, with high confidence, we can say that the hot extremes are increasing for most of the world, including South Asia. So that is with the three dots, it shows high confidence. Whereas for heavy precipitation, the confidence is slightly low in the South Asia region. When it comes to the climate change impact on water, especially the water availability is varying across the globe. But when it comes to the South Asia region, it is a positive sign that it is going to increase due to climate change. The quantity of rainfall, at least, is going to have an increase. But when it looks the water-related disasters, especially in the South Asia region, we can see that the number of disasters are high. The flood side is very high. Droughts are also increasing at some parts of the South Asia region. But the most important factor of water scarcity, when it comes to water scarcity, the population of the South Asia region becomes very prominent and important. Chances of many months of water scarcity in the South Asia region, especially particularly in India, and India has already started facing increased risk due to rising extreme weather events. So the government of India had initiated many actions. One of them is the National Action Plan on Climate Change to counter the impacts of climate change. There is a national water mission which looks into and promotes sustainable water use. There is a state action plan on climate change which formed some 15 years back and executed various action plans for every sectors. And the recent attempt is a state-specific action specifically for water sector to understand the future water availability and challenges and to prepare the action plans. So in today's topic, we will discuss about a state-specific action plan of one of the southern states of India. It is known as Kerala, where our institute is located. It is in the southern part of India, located almost like a strip of land. Like it has a width of 50 to 70 kilometers and length of about 600 kilometers. It is a coastal state, and the elevation varies from 2000 to 0 in a span of, I said before, 50 to 70 kilometer. So the slope is very high, and the region receives a high rainfall, an annual average rainfall of 3000 mm. And also the state has almost 44 river basins, but most of them are very small in size. So as part of the project, we projected the climate for three periods of 25 years till the end of this century. And as expected, both the minimum and maximum temperatures were increasing. And the rainfall was also expected to increase by about 10 to 20% in the future for different situations or scenarios of SSP. So what we did is how to understand the impact of that on the water resources. We developed a variable infiltration capacity, a hydrological model, and applied this the future climatic variations and simulated for till the end of the century. As I have shown, three periods of assessment here. So when we did that, we did it for all the 44 river basins, and we validated it multiple locations for variable for reliance of discharge records. And we also projected the demands based on we also projected the population for future, as well as all the demands, all the sector wise demands for future. And we tried to calculate the river basin water balances. So for surprise actually, because for a land where we receive about 3,000 mm of annual rainfall, most of these river basins were coming into a deficit category. A very few river basins were in the neutral or a slightly surplus category. So we looked into all the river basins, the demands of each sectors. I will try to explain it with an example of one of the rivers, which is known as the Pamba River, which has a catchment area of about 2,000 kilometers square. So it has an extractable groundwater of about 150 MCM in a year, and utilizable surface water of about 2,000 to 2,200 MCM. When we looked at the demands, all these river basins are associated with various sectors of demand, and some of them are associated with some particular demands. Like this river, this supports a pilgrimage season in a like about 3 to 4 crore people visit this pilgrimage every year. So this is something that brings this river basin into a kind of a deficit category because of that demand, and that happens in a span of 2 to 3 months, and the entire population of Kerala is only 3.5 crores. So almost the quantity of the number of people in Kerala, that is from all over India and abroad, people are visiting this place during that small window. So that is creating a lot of load on this river system. So we can see that the deficit is going to into the order of 650 to 750 range. So first of all, we looked at the groundwater recharge and artificial rainwater harvesting options in the river basin. So we had discussions with the groundwater experts in this region. So they were suggesting us to that the possibility is to add about 40 to 50 MCM of water through various recharge measures for these river basins. So still we were in short. So we looked at the demands of each sectors and started finding different efficient methods of managing different sectors. I have just highlighted 2 sectors here, the irrigation and domestic. Similarly, we did it for all other sectors like tourism, industries, the environmental side of all environmental side requirements of these river basins. And what we could find from the analysis is that if we can implement some of these water conservation measures, it is possible to bring this river basin into a surplus category. So we did this analysis for all the river basins of Kerala, and we have prepared that report and submitted it. So that is, and we are also asked to prepare action plans to implement all these interventions that we prepared as part of this project. So we have a separate report was submitted for that, and that is being implemented in the state for in a high priority basis. Now, as many of you might have heard that in 2018, Kerala experienced devastating floods. There was 2 extreme rainfall events happening in a span of 2 weeks, and we experienced a flood for most of the parts in the state, and it happened in 2019 as well, and some part of the state also flooded in 2020-21. But some of these events were also associated with landslides. So this was a question or a change point in Kerala to after 2018 floods. We looked at every possibility of our management aspects, starting from dam operations to water conservation, even water quality management, everything. So one of the points of discussion that came up during those discussions was the locations of some of the mudslides happening close to recharge pits, especially in the high altitude regions. So that was looked into, and this was a discussion still. This discussion is going on, but After that event, we started to have a more careful and planning for water conservation, especially for this fragile land of Western Ghats, where the soil thickness is very high and the chances of landslides or mudslips are very high. So this kind of a document was updated after that, and even this is being updated even now because of this consideration. We can see that out of the total area of about 38,000, right now they have only earmarked about 11,000 kilometers square for as feasible for artificial recharge. And they have also tried to specify what type of structures should be given in those areas and what are the numbers that are required in this on a watershed basis. So this was a change. It was happening before, but a more careful and planned modification of this document was one of the key changes that happened in the water conservation in our sector. So that is what I would like to share today. And the main conclusions and way forward I would like to highlight are the climate change may increase water availability in South Asia, but growing population pressure necessitates judicious water use. Water conservation opportunities should be explored and implemented comprehensively. Conservation measures must be tailored to local conditions to maximize benefits and minimize risks. Groundwater recharge is vital, but conserving water at the user level is equally important. Water use efficiency across agriculture, industry, domestic, environmental, and all other sectors should be regularly monitored and improved. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for your in-depth information on the effects of the climatic change and the rainfall and the water resources. It's very heartening to know that, we'll be getting more water. It's a good news or bad news, I don't know. But it's nice. It will surely help the ever-growing population of the Southeast Asian countries. With this, we have a lot of questions from our listeners who have sent. You both of you, since any one of you can take these questions. The first questions being, why the easy methods of roof rainwater harvesting is not acceptable worldwide, and we have the best solutions, patented products, which are already has saved more than 3,300 crore liters of water in India. Why is that it's not very widely accepted? Any one of you can take the question, sir.
Yeah, shall I just comment? I think mostly is it's still not mainstream. I think it is all people are still looking at the big schemes, big pipeways, taking water from one end to the other, long distances. Engineers, town planners, this is still in their heads. And it is also, I think, even in the universities, it's not that well taught, the rainwater harvesting yet. So that
Right.
might be one of the things. And of course, people, community-wise, people-wise, individual-wise, everybody will want a tap at their house and the facilities like that. So this rainwater harvesting become a second option for in those cases. So that's why I think it's still not popular in many of our countries.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true, ma'am.
Just
I
to
think,
yeah.
world over, actually, people think that water is a state subject, and it is government's duty to provide water. So, the conservation takes a back foot. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, sir, you were telling something, please.
Just to add to that, the economical side of that is also very important, I think. People where they are have to pay high, they look into adopt some of the rainwater harvesting, and where there is free water available, they just go with that. So it's also about the availability of water and the economic side of that.
Very true, sir. Yes, sir. Now, can we go to the second question? What approaches, good practices will be effective to harvest the rain in the steep slope of the Nepali hills? So this is my question also. Is it safe to have the rainwater harvesting systems in the steep hills, sir? Because we saw lot of hillsides in some parts of the Coorg where that they had done the rainwater harvesting system. They had done the recharging pit, and we saw a lot of landslides. So this is question to you, sir, whether it is feasible or good practice to do this rainwater harvesting in the steep slopes, sir.
Steep slopes are always needs to be done very carefully, and especially whenever there is the soil depth is very high. So the accumulation of water in soil can have devastating impacts. So in steep slopes, we can have something in the gully parts of it, some to slow down the water, kind of a small check dams or with natural materials, not kind of a major storage, I am saying, but restrict those, and the typical type of the contour type of which is in very use all over the world is also possible. But the stabilization of that soil is very important. I think before starting the conservation, we need to understand the vegetation layer of there, and as well as the stability of that soil that we need to check before even starting the conservation activities.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we can go to the next question, and how the rainwater harvesting for AMR? How to harvest rainwater for AMR?
Can you just explain what is AMR actually? AMR.
I also failed to understand that, sir, because the question is like this.
Okay.
Mr.
For
Vijay.
AMR. Okay.
Antimicrobial resistance, sir.
Okay.
How to
Okay.
harvest rainwater for something means I just Google it through AI. It is antimicrobial resistance. Rainwater
Okay, it must
harvesting.
be, most probably it is because of the anti-biological issues that is happening in the roof water, rainwater harvesting tanks. That could be that is what I felt
Or
like.
people, probably it must be whether they are asking whether that ambient microbial can affect the rainwater, something like that, if I understand that.
Can
Okay.
you repeat the question?
Okay, so probably we can take that question again after we speak to the person who has the question. How can we save voodoo water, and how can we spread the awareness across India? We are running a campaign to promote the conservation of voodoo water at the religious places across India, to advocate the policies for encouraging responsible water use through awareness of the community. So they are asking, how can you save voodoo water?
Yeah.
This also means I don't know about this voodoo water is.
Okay, what I understand is this is the water they use to wash their legs and hands before entering to the religious places.
Oh, okay.
So this is a very welcome sign to use that water for water conservation. So that can be diverted to any recharge options available nearby. So that will be a very good option.
Mhm. Yes, sir. Very true. So, what are the major challenges in scaling up the rainwater harvesting project at a community level in South Asia?
Yeah, if
Mr.
I
Vijay
may,
Raj,
Yeah,
I
Go on.
think there
yeah,
are some raised hands.
yeah. Surely, you will allow them to speak. Yeah, the person who have raised hand can please unmute themselves and ask the question, please.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm Macpherson Ntara, President of the Rainwater Harvesting Association. of Malawi, here in Southern and Central Africa. And I would like to thank the two presenters for the good insights which they have shared. I wanted to address the issue of climate change impacts, especially floods, as you have mentioned that some parts of Sri Lanka are also affected by floods. We also face annual floods here in Malawi, especially in the southern part of the country. And the Malawi being an agro-based economy, 75% of the rural people depend on agriculture, and they are also mostly affected by floods. And in these flood-prone areas, when it is during the rainy season, because of the flooding, they are not able to grow anything because their fields are washed away and they are flooded. But one of the things that we have discovered is that after the floods, farmers are able to use the receding floods to grow crops like rice, but they also use the receding floods for crop production using the residual moisture. So one of the techniques that we piloted some 3-4 years ago was the flood-based farming system, in which we piloted some flood detention structures. So being able to safely guide the flood water into valleys.
So
And
because of
then
the
when
scarcity of the time, can we restrict your this one to the questions, sir? So that would be better because we have got so many questions now. So
yes, my
yes.
question is, have you piloted the technologies for diverting floods so that they can be safely used, but also detaining the flood water so that we can turn a flood disaster into an opportunity? I think that's one area which I thought I would hear experiences from Sri Lanka if something has been done from the agricultural perspective. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Janet, sir. Sir.
The diversion schemes of floodwater, we have tried the feasibility of that in our region, but usually whenever it floods in our region, we used to get rainfall of kind of 200 to 220 mm in a day. So most of the soil moisture is already saturated, and no nearby areas to divert is available because most of those regions will be flooded. So such options are very limited in our terrain, but I think it's possible, as Madam mentioned, maybe in Sri Lanka side.
Okay. And as far as I am concerned, when I come from India, we do a lot of injection well systems. These have been helping us in a lot in mitigating of the floods and waterlogging issues, particularly after the floods. If there are waterlogging, we have used this injection well system. You can please Google and see. We have adopted more than 14,700 such injection well system, which has really helped us in mitigating this waterlogging issues. And majority of the roof rainwater harvesting has helped us to scale down the challenges we face because of the flooding. Yes, sir. So coming to the next questions, usually rainwater harvesting storage capacity is much lower than the demand. Whether it is given high importance for a better utilization of the rainwater harvesting system. This is about the
I think
storage capacity of the rainwater harvesting, sir.
it's more because of the economical side of it. I think it's
Exactly.
having a high storage is always not economically feasible.
Yes,
So
sir.
limited storage for critical usages is something which we always look into. If you can
Yes,
have
sir.
higher storages, but it's not feasible
It's
for the
not
life.
economically viable. Very true, sir.
Yes.
But one thing with geologists, eminent geologists like you, probably we can find the void zones of the earth which have been dried up earlier, which had water at the top level in the boreholes. If we are use experience of the hydrogeologist and the geologists like you all, probably we can identify the void zone in the earth and try to percolate the water, rainwater into the ground, and so that you increase the groundwater table also and store huge quantity of the water, which can mitigate our droughts in the future. This is
Yeah,
what
that
I
is,
feel. We have been trying to
yeah,
do
that
that.
is, okay, okay. That is true.
Yes, sir. Let's go to the next question, please. Uh, so, uh, what are the barriers to promote rainwater harvesting on a mass scale? Ma'am, you can take this question because you are active champion in promoting the rainwater harvesting since last 25 years. 25 years is a big time. When probably people didn't even know about rainwater harvesting when you started promoting it. So, what is the major challenges you are facing? Is the question they are asking. Like, why
Yeah,
people are not
well,
getting.
although I proudly said we have a policy on rainwater harvesting, but it is not active. It's not been implemented. Regulations are there. It is not been adhered to. So those are one of the major barriers. And also at the community level, is awareness is a barrier. People are still not aware about these techniques, and they do it at small scale, but at a larger scale, they still don't know. The initial cost is another one where people have to spend to install a system, especially people who don't have much, economically not stable. That is also an issue. So those are the main barriers I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true, and I feel that Janet sir had pointed out a very valid this one because water is available so cheap, so people don't
Exactly.
value for that. If there was a cost for the water embedded, then the whole industries, if the water was a raw material, if industries would have
Yes.
considered water as a raw material, probably they would have surely taken rainwater harvesting at the highest priority. Today, I visited in the morning our railway system where the water comes at 108 rupees per kiloliter of water. And so now it is pinching their budget. So people suddenly have become more active for doing rainwater. So as rightly
Right.
pointed out by Janet sir, once the water is charged to the actual level, what it costs to the government, probably people would go for rainwater harvesting because it is freely available, God-given gift, which is freely available and purest form of water. Okay, next
Sure.
question. Uh, we had this one, and this probably is the what is the in context of the El Nino forecast and the shifting monsoon patterns. How can rainwater harvesting system be scaled and integrated into national drought and flood management strategies, particularly in the vulnerable south regions of South Asia? Ma'am, you have been in the government. Both of you have been advisors to the government on this effect, so you can throw the light on this.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka, of course, the government is promoting rainwater harvesting at the moment with where they are planning to install about rainwater systems in about 100 public buildings in the Western province. And as well as some households they're promoting. So I think best is collect much as water possible when it's raining, and then keeping it for the dry times that are supposed to be coming up soon.
Janet sir, you want to add something, sir?
Yeah, El Nino periods can have intermittent dry periods even in between the monsoon. So those are some of the opportunities. But like in places like Kerala, even though if it is an El Nino year, you will be receiving of the order of 1,500 maybe mm of annual rainfall still. So from 3,000 to even if it comes to 1,500, the recharge activities will happen as we do in the normal setup. But if there's a continuous El Nino years happening, there is a question mark. Also, these days, we raise the reservoir rule curves to be operated flexibly in accordance with the predictions of climate and as well as especially the weather side of it. So it is especially in kind of an El Nino situations. If there is a flooding situation, we should be allowed to store more water in the reservoirs so that that can be used in different periods of the other dry periods, dry spells of that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And probably these questions have been answered. Methods of RWH in sloping terrains have been answered. With this, probably we come to the end of this wonderful session. Over to you, Dhanushree madam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vijayaraj, and thank you for the valuable insights for the two presenters and for those who shared the questions. I think we can keep on adding to this, and there's so much discussion needed on this topic. So we hope to see you with another webinar soon from SARNET. And in the meantime, we are also inviting you to share if there are any insights that you see, valuable insights that where SARNET should engage in, or we welcome you on board for being a speaker in the upcoming webinars of SARNET. So we also have live streamed this webinar on SARNET YouTube, and we request you to also follow us on SARNET YouTube as well, and look forward to seeing you in the next webinar of SARNET in webinar 23. So thank you once again for joining, and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much. Wonderful session it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
very
for
much.
facilitating, Mr. Vijay.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
And also, if those of you who have not been SARNET members, we also request you to join on board as SARNET members, so it becomes easy for regular interaction. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.